some forms of the black community is going to always be a cult-like, whereas they believe in a certain leader or a certain aspect of a God, so they're going to close themselves off to the greater community. Although they might say that, they don't represent the conventional Christianity or the conventional Islam and all, but still yet it's still that cult-like atmosphere. And basically, if you're not on the agenda of either being down with their particular leader or their particular God, you see what I'm saying, then it's going to be limited in the way they're going to reach out to the black community and assist each other. So you do have that factor that goes down in the conscious community. So therefore, the ones that's left outside of that doesn't particular put the plateau as far as one particular deity or one particular belief system or one particular leader, those people who don't deal with that, that's on the outside, on the periphery, in the aspect that say we try to deal with all of the black conscious information as a form of black history. So therefore, the Hebrew aspect, we accept that because the simple fact it's a part of our history. Doesn't necessarily mean whether it's 10,000 years old or whether it's 3,000 years old. We deal the same thing with the Islam we deal with, because we understand that all of it is a part of black history, our particular aspect. We know that nobody outside of us put forth those particular systems. And we also know that those particular systems, if you dig deep enough, have their mystical side to them. So therefore, we don't necessarily shut out anybody. It's the same thing like I'm dealing with this thing here, the return of the ancient evil. And the sister of evil, she said that she was dealing with something that she needed to deal with. Something based on melanin and the dark side or whatever. And I told her to go to Isaiah 44. And I knew that Isaiah 44 tell you, I will give you the treasures of darkness. But I told her to read the whole chapter. Because I knew there was another brother said that when he read the whole chapter, there was all types of metaphysical things coming out of that Isaiah, out of the book of Isaiah. And in there it said that I created the dark and the light. I created the evil and the good. So the evil and the good. So therefore we're talking about polarities here other than wicked versus good and that whole kind of thing. We're talking about polarities, changing seasons. But it was right there in the book of Isaiah. Right there in the book of Isaiah. So we deal with all of this because we know that these particular scriptures are nothing but rewritten. They were ancient scriptures that was rewritten to fit a particular movement. And again, take case in point. Good example. We always knew, even in the Afrocentric movement, that we knew that most of these scriptures came out of the libraries of ancient Africa. And we knew that basically the pages of the Bible was nothing but basically rewritten or plagiarized pages of stuff that came out of ancient Kemet. The thing about it is we never really traced those particular, the book of Isaiah, the book of Job, the book of so-and-so, back to see exactly where does it line up with the text, because on the other hand and stuff, we're not privy to a lot of things of research that these Europeans are privy to. Well, the guy Gary Greenberg that wrote the book, The Moses Mystery, put out this book called The Myths of the Bible, 101 Myths of the Bible. And by Gary Greenberg, and in here he's literally showing you this is the book of the book of let's say it's give you a good example. The book of give me a Bible, Deuteronomy. Good. Then he'll show you exactly where you can find the same mythology in the Egyptian or the Camite text. And literally these people just took these particular things and just rewrote them in their political agenda. We're talking about politics here other than the Word of God. So this particular book here is an excellent book, Gary Greenberg book, 101 Myths of the Bible, where they literally go back in and take those particular texts and show you the parallel between that and the Camite text. You see, so if we know that the book of Isaiah, it says, it starts off, well, I'll give you the treasures of darkness. We know that this is a lot of alchemical stuff. It's a lot of Kabbalistic information. And basically, we don't throw anything out because we're all dealing with fragments. You see what I'm saying? We're all dealing with fragments. And that's the difference about really winning the game. Whenever you throw something out and proclaim this as the actual truth, the game stops, and therefore you become stuck. It's just like the baby with the bathwater when we threw out the Greek thing, because we understood that the Greeks plagiarized the information from the mystery schools, the Greek philosophy. But Greek mythology was completely black. But if they plagiarized Greek philosophy, you still need to deal with that. You see what I'm saying? But then again, on the other hand, there's this whole story, whether Aristotle or any of these particular people, whether they were black in the first place or whether they were black in the first place. You see what I'm saying? There's these, so this is this particular information, because we know that they said that they were persecuting people who came to Greece with this philosophy. So obviously, that anybody that came there had to have been of another race. And I remember one time back in '94 when Ginger had first got off the Native American mounds, and I said, well, let me take this opportunity, because she was opened up as a channel. So I said, well, let me do something. Instead of just asking all these regular mundane questions and stuff, or whether the rent gonna get paid or whatever kind of shit, let me take this opportunity, because I have a hierarchy, to recorrect those particular histories. And then the first thing I asked is, why the hell y'all let white people into the doggone mystery system? And they said, we never let any white people in the mystery system. White folks never went to the mystery system. But then again, on the other hand, I met a Greek woman that worked with Ginger at the Atlanta Journal and Constitution in '99. I was like, man, this woman here gonna die from skin cancer, because this woman has a tan year round. And I just thought she was going to some of those tanning beds, and the woman started talking and all, and she said, I'm from Greece, and in so many words, she said that this tan is my permanent tan. So I said, now wait a minute. Now, if this is a woman, obviously she looks European, but she's real. I mean, she was real dark. You know how the ones where you see the Europeans where they go and they tan so point during the summer to like August, they are real dark before the shit start peeling. But she was like that. I said, well, if she's this way in 1999, can you imagine what the origins of the Greek would have been 2,000 years ago? You see what I'm saying? And then I met some out at a mall one day with nappy hair. And then and Charles Spence said that 90%, well, 70 or 80% of the Greeks had sickle cell. So we know if the 80% of them had sickle cell, that's got to be a black nation. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, we're talking about the lies are so massive until basically you have to really analyze, and you can't make no judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying, like they found, what's the tomb? Ramesses the Fifth, or one of those Ramesses kings, Ramesses the Fifth king, back in 93 or 94. They haven't opened it up to the public, because the man said they over there just a painting and just a, you know, they over there just a painting and all, and they making sure all those black figures are going to be lily white by the time they open it all up. You see what I'm saying? So they just over there just a painting and just doing all this type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? And you know, and it's interesting because I was reading some book, The Gods of Dark and Light, and it was talking about Horus, or Heru, and they say Heru is a deity that has blue eyes. Now we know that basically, the eye of Heru itself, you see the eye of Heru, which is supposed to be Horus's eye, is a black dot. Where we coined the phrase the black dot from the eye of Heru, or the eye of Horus. But here's this person in this particular book said that Horus's eyes is blue eyes, and 98% of the book, she did a book, DJ Conway did this book, and all the stuff that was in the book was of another culture, mainly African culture, India culture from India, all of this stuff, and they didn't have one black picture in the entire book. I'm like, God damn, wait a minute now. Here it is, you call yourself the great people of deductive reasoning and logic and rationale, and then all of a sudden when it comes to race, you're just going to suspend your common sense. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said, and we say, well, you know, people are supposed to produce the entity in whichever race they want to be in. Well, that would be good in our sake. But then again, on the other hand, don't tell me you're going to go to damn blue-black Africa. You see what I'm saying? And produce a European. You see, so they're constantly, I mean, there is so much information that these people have covered over until in so many words, I hear things sometime and I go, you know, I never ever say that no, it cannot necessarily be that way. It's just like the same thing where they got this discrepancy of whether civilization started in the Yucatan over in the Western Hemisphere, whether civilization started in Africa. But then again, if the earth was one landmass, you see what I'm saying? There could very well be this reason why is it that every creation myth that comes about, whether it's Native American, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Aborigine, whether it's African, whether it's Mexico, why is it that all of them say this is where the people first stood up? Now, they can talk about Montauk Point, Long Island, which is supposed to be the Montauk Indians or the Montauk Native Americans, and they got a mythology to say that the first man and woman stood up in Montauk Point, Long Island. You see what I'm saying? There's a mythology that the first man and woman stood up in the Samoan, the Samoan nation. You see. And we got this same story, but if we're talking about, number one landmass, number one, we're talking about time being so remotely ancient until we can't just say, not even Africa. You see what I'm saying? And that's when Elijah Muhammad used to say, no, wait a minute, this whole earth belonged to us. And that's what your girl Akasha said in the movie. They were saying, she said, no, all this stuff belonged to us. We are the lords of all of this. And they made the distinction between the vampires and the gods. Because they were saying, no, we vampires, but now you fucking with the gods with Akasha. You have tasted the most ancient of blood. This is Queen of the Dam. You see what I'm saying? And so she said, no, all of this belongs to us. Same thing what Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Same thing that Master Farad Muhammad said. The same thing that the entire planet Earth. So therefore, now we're talking about just even revising the history particular point, whereas they are lying every day. You see, so now you can't really rule out anything as far as the way we're going to do this thing, because I think we even took this Africa thing to a certain level. Now, we're not saying that Africa is not no more remotely ancient as any other place. But my point here is I'm trying to wonder, why is it that we can't see different sections of Mexico? You know what I'm saying? You see Mexico City, but I mean, you got parts of Mexico that's very mysterious, and it's still mystical. South America. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's interesting because I got a bunch of brothers going over to South America now. Just started going within the last couple of months. Brothers from America, brothers from Atlanta. They're going over the South. They're going over to like Rio and stuff. In Brazil, they're like, hey, shoot, man. They go over there and they get set out. So they go over there and I'll spend about 2 or 3 days and all, and they be like, oh, you from America? Shit, it's on. So they say the sisters over there be setting things out. But then again, on the other hand, there's 80 million black people in South America. In Brazil alone. 80 million black people. You see what I'm saying? They might not know they black, but there's 80 million black people. And then you want to find out why there's the land that's more fertile than America never gets developed. And why is it that these indigenous places like Africa, South America, parts of Mexico, you see what I'm saying? Remote places around the world that's not really remote, that's only remote based on the European don't want to doggone build them up. But they'll go and take a place like Germany after World War II and build it up after that. In 25 years, Germany is back on top. You see what I'm saying? And all. But yet these mysterious places that we don't even see. You see, like here it is again. The Moors are talking about forms of Yucatan, Mexico. Well, there's a book by Brother Philip. Brother Philip is a guy by the name of, it's called Secret of the Andes. It's a channeled book, but it's tight because this guy was writing an assumed name. He's Brother Philip on one thing. He's also called George Hunt Williams. George Hunt Williamson, I think it is, or Williams, one of those. He wrote the book Other Tongues of the Flesh and Secret Places of the Lion. But he also wrote under the name Brother Philip. You see what I'm saying? And they used to do a lot of this before the 1970s because they would get ostracized and castigated by doing metaphysical stuff like your boy Hilton Hotima. Hilton Hotima is an assumed name. It's an alien, it's not the alias name, but it is the assumed name, and it is a ghost name for some other writer. You see what I'm saying? And they used to do a lot of that type of stuff. There's a book, Secret of the Andes. And they're talking about all of this particular aspect of places right here in the Western Hemisphere. You see what I'm saying? Right here in the Western Hemisphere, which leads us to the black water, the mysterious black water opening up on the coast of Africa. Now, isn't it interesting that the black water, anybody heard about this, we'll go into this, came about on the 22nd of March. This black water mysteriously appeared. They've been talking about it. They kept it a secret. It's been out there for a minute, but they broke it to the news on the 22nd of March, the first time we heard it publicly. And isn't it funny, during the same time that they would have that going on, they got this Israel bullshit going down. And they got this thing with the Catholic Church going down. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the black water in Florida. This mysterious black water off of the Florida Keys. You see, and so we'll go into a greater explanation of that. But what we're saying is now, this thing has gotten to the point where, as in actuality, you can't never say, no, this is the way shit is. Even this thing with the historical thing. Because we've been in this argument on history, man, for the last 14, 15 years, and there's just so much stuff occurring each day. Now, Walter Williams said that it's impossible, if a person has a symbol, for you to know what that symbol is 2,000 years from now, as far as hieroglyphics. He, as well as Dr. York and a couple other people, said that they don't believe that hieroglyphics has been translated. But that might very well be when it comes to this little slab that they said they found, what, the Rosetta Stone, and Champollion is supposed to translate hieroglyphics. But fortunately, one of the only black Egyptologists that we have was the sister Rickety Wimby. She wrote in a lot of the Van Sertima's books, Egypt Revisited, I think, and a couple of other ones. She wrote for Van Sertima and a lot of things. When I spoke in Trenton about 4 or 5 years ago, I was speaking in not Trenton, Newark, New Jersey. Come to find out that she lives in a suburb of Newark. So therefore, the sister that had me come speak, we rode to her house. And she gives me a whole other history about how Champollion and them, because she went to the University of Chicago, they didn't translate hieroglyphics or metaneta. That there was a black man, here he goes again, there was a black man that just knew it. You see what I'm saying? And just translated it. He just looked at it, and he did all the translation, and yet they did this Champollion credit for the shit. You see what I'm saying? They was doing this thing for 15 years when he was trying to do this and some other guy, and they were getting nowhere with it. Until they found this black man, and all of a sudden, overnight, hieroglyphics, how can something go when they can't find nothing in 15 years, and then all of a sudden, this thing by the end of the 19th century, this shit is completely translated. And their whole Egyptology springs up behind something that they had trouble for 15 years trying to decipher. That is because they did it from this black man. Here it goes again, how they do things. And they did this thing from this particular black man that was in Chicago that translated this stuff for the white boys. You see, translated this stuff for the white boys. But then again, on the other hand, if we keep still believing in this scientific approach on which the white boy has brought this one model, we never get anywhere. Well, like one guy said, man, that's crazy. You're going to tell me that this can just happen overnight, whereas somebody can just look at something and know it. I say, I do it all the damn time. I do it all the time. You might have thought for the last fucking 10 years I've been studying. No. What I do is I just know the shit. I just look at it and I know it. It's like your boy on the movie, what's the name of that movie? The movie with Tom Hanks, The Green Mile. And they said, we're going to see this, we're going to see this woman that's sick. They said, how you know? He said, I just know. Well, what it is I would study and I would go and research what I was looking for, but what I was looking for I already knew. So the only thing I was doing is going in and getting a greater grasp on the actual stuff, but I just knew it. You see what I'm saying? It's in the movie, Dune, where it was with the sand people, the Fremen, and this guy, he put his suit on a certain way, and the guy said, how did you know to put your suit on that way? You from another planet. You see what I'm saying? He was like, I just knew. And then he said in his mind, he will know their ways. He will know their ways as he is born to them. Well, it's the same thing also. Nothing is truly lost. Nothing is truly lost. So therefore, this black guy deciphered hieroglyphics of metaneta. And that's no difference. The reason why in when it wasn't even popular or putting black people and stuff, all of a sudden, in the early 70s, mid-70s, they got these 3 or 4 black people they put on at NASA. You see what I'm saying? They put on it at NASA. And basically this has been the case based on all of this particular information. But going back, I've learned that you cannot write the gospel as saying this is the way it is, and that's how we get stuck. You see, that's how we get stuck whenever we come up and say that no, this is the way it is. And that's what the Afrocentric community did by saying there's a certain general way that we look at this thing as being valid. And as a result, after they wrote that law, it didn't grow, ASCAC didn't grow in the aspect of the general history that was put down. And then when you get all this metaphysical stuff, it looks like Mars code to them. Because the simple fact is, you cannot say something is a certain way, but even Van Sertima said that from some rock, some spoke, some blade of grass, the truth always comes back up and comes out. So you can't hold this stuff down. There's a lot of interesting things happening right now based on that, but we need going. But I need to recap some things because of, let's see a particular book. What is this of? What is this of? What is this back here, man? Oh, I was getting ready to say. Oh, okay. I need to recap some things. This particular book here, if you can find it, the guy's dead. The Yoruba World of Good and Evil by Conrad E. period in the word M-A-U-G-E. What's that? Bog, M-A-U-G-E, Ph.D. The Yoruba World of Good and Evil. The Yoruba World of Good and Evil. And even when we have the whole Yoruba thing that come down to us, we have a tailored form, whereas there were certain aspects that was literally taken out of it. That was literally taken out of it. And what we have here is a tailored form of a greater system, that existed in the ancient world, And although we know that this is a system that comes down to us from the ancient world, it is still a flawed system. It is still a flawed system. And I say that in the aspect to say, we're going to pour this particular libation and stuff. I say that because based on a war of principalities and a battle right now for supremacy is going on based on certain elements of the changing of the guards. I told you in the book, what's your boy's book? Crawley's book under the tarot card, The Tower. And he talks about the 2 towers that would fall when the lightning strikes, which also represents the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. It says it represented the changing of a garrison or a fall. So now now try to understand me on this. Clearly the stuff that's in Israel is tailored. Clearly this particular stuff that is going down with the Catholic Church is tailored, because if they didn't want you to know that these boys been fucking people, you wouldn't know that. They wouldn't come out publicly. Because they've been screwing people since goddamn Rome. All right? That's no big deal. Everybody knows that the Catholic priest been screwing people. They've been doing it, and they've been coming up, and they've been testing these people for years. You always heard of these people being the molestators of the world. But the key is they're putting focus on it now, so all of a sudden it brings it to the attention. Remember now, if TV don't put focus on it or don't bring it to the attention, we never really think about it. That's the way the mind control goes. So for the mere fact that they're focusing on it and all, that's the tailored aspect. But the key here is, although it is tailored, there's got to be something else that is going on that makes that particular aspect come out the way it is now. Why do they come out and they just actually shut down their own institution? Well, number one, we got to look at this particular part too. We're talking about 3 major world religions that basically run the world. One is run from Mecca, which is not necessarily the good ones. Because them white people in Mecca, them white Arabs in Mecca, ain't no different than a white man in Wall Street. See what I'm saying? So don't get that wrong to think that in actuality this is Islam over Christianity and over Judaism, over this and all, because we're talking about one of the same components. Father, son, and grandson. Because we all talking about patriarchal religion. But just look at this particular aspect here. These 3 major religions within the last 6 months have been attacked. First, it was Islam under the World Trade Center thing. You see what I'm saying? And now going on simultaneously, it's doggone the Israel thing and the Catholic thing. The world is run by Christians. I don't know, that's run from Mecca, the Vatican, and also from Israel. You see what I'm saying? They figure Buddhists don't count, although there's thousands of Buddhist aspects, but they talk about people. You see, they figure like this. Majority of the Asians don't believe in shit no more. I don't understand that. You know, you got you got the Asians to deal with Buddhism, but Buddhism is an extension coming from India. But somehow that goes all up in that connection with that whole Tibet thing. But my point here is the entire, what was that? What was some of the Asian stuff? Zen, the Tao. This stuff is almost forgotten by the masses of the Asians, where you got a whole section don't believe in anything. Which I don't know if that's an attribute or, you know, that might be an attribute at these particular times. But then again, on the other hand, they cutting their eyes and be like white folks too. And all like this and all. So the point I'm trying to make here is, so they figure they don't count. They figure because the hub of that, see, in order to have a religion that's supposed to be one that's world dominating, you got to have a massive power. So you have China, which is one particular aspect, but the China that rules it, they scared about, they're not allowed to believe in damn near anything, and they have basically overhauled their indigenous thing. In Japan, they don't believe in shit, but the white boy. So as far as they're concerned, if you take that to Tibet, India, they say that's poor people. So as far as they're concerned, they figure they don't have no power, so that's not the world religion that they're worried about. They're talking about the ones that have influence around the world is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And in the last 6 months, we have seen this thing fall. That means that there's a particular realm that is coming back into play. Not, even though that might be orchestrated. It's like the World Trade Center. Although that they might have been forced to blow up their own buildings or whatever type thing, but it's still like one of the guys looked at me, he said, well, you know what? The white boy can never say again that he's untouchable. Because up until now, America, you see what I'm saying, never got their ass whipped. And maybe this particular incident might have been tailored or whatever, but because the simple fact that their hand was forced, meaning that's vulnerability within itself. And they can never say no more that they're untouchable. Although it might have been orchestrated, my point here is, what is going on that's going to make you even make this damn move? You understand what I'm saying? To make this move. But on a higher level, this represents the hierarchy of the old garrison falling. I don't even give a damn if they did orchestrate the thing that's going down in Israel. Or they just decided we're going to give up a few priests. Or they sent damn near 1,000 something in America alone. You see what I'm saying? And that ain't including worldwide. You see what I'm saying? But still yet, if you look behind the scenes, what we're talking about here is we have seen a glitch or a break in the old system. Things that we would have never seen before. You see what I'm saying? And this is what's going on here, because that's right there is a form of, despite what we think, there is a certain realm that is coming back in. But it's not coming back in the normal conventional means of what we call liberation and revolution like people think. This thing is, like we say, it's coming back in as a realm of indulgence that they talk about in Robert Johnson's book, Ecstasy, which is a key book. Robert A. Johnson book, Ecstasy, dealing with the whole Dionysian myth. This is the realm of the return of the Bacchanalian realm. Bacchus, that's the Roman form of Dionysus. You know, so that Bacchanalian realm, there's a return. So despite what is being orchestrated or being manipulated on the physical realm, there's a whole energy that when they look up, they're going down. Well, who the fuck is manipulating us? You see, what is making us, because obviously if the mutant, or I'll say the word hybrid, is in control, by him being a hybrid, it also means that he can be manipulated. That's what Kenneth Grant says about C.W. Ledbetter, Blavatsky, and a whole bunch of Europeans during the late 18th century, late 1800s, and the early 20th century. That they were slaves of AWAS. That means that there was entities that used Europeans to get certain works done. You see what I'm saying? So even though you might have a pattern where everybody's lying, every now and then you get a break, where you get one. That's the same with this Gary Greenberg. He wrote the Moses Mystery, and he wrote this book, 101 Myths of the Bible, and all of a sudden, he has the whole New York Times and he has the whole entire Jewish community saying that he's a pseudo scholar. But yet this man is he is the head of several archaeological foundations. Gary Greenberg, the author of the Moses Mystery, he is a member of a Society of Biblical Literature, Egypt Exploration Society, American Research Center in Hemmitt, Egypt, and the Anthropological Institute of America. You see, he has addressed international conferences of Egyptologists, the Society of Biblical Literature, and conferences held in America Research Center in Egypt. You see, he is a senior trial lawyer for a criminal defense division of the Legal Aid Society of New York. So just like Tony Brown said, motherfucker, you coming with big letters. You got the big shit behind you to say that you legitimate, and white people say you legitimate, but yet they're castigating him and calling him a pseudo scholar. You see what I'm saying? Because he dared tell the truth. You see, so even in this particular aspect here at all, every now and then, something will come up, and they will be slaves. And that's why the book of Enoch says, to get R.H. Charles, the book of Enoch, his particular one. Because it was one sister like, man, I just get sick of these white folks and what they writing and all this kind of thing. And I said, you better be glad them white folks writing it. I said, no, wait a minute, come on now, let's be honest with this shit. I said, now you got a brother like me and you got a few other brothers out here. We're getting into this particular stuff, and my stuff is 10 years. I say, but if these white motherfuckers didn't write it, you think we was going to wait on niggas to write the shit? We're still trying to figure out whether we fucking damn Presbyterian or Baptist. So let's be logical about this shit. Well, I'm glad these white folks did write the book. I don't give a damn what their ulterior motive is and whether they're writing it for white folks. They still was being influenced by a greater entity or a greater power to make sure that this particular information get down here, because if it was left up to niggas, we would never have it. You understand what I'm saying? We would still be talking about whether I damn take communion or whether I get sprinkled on the head or whether some motherfucker baptized me in some goddamn swimming pool. You hear this shit? Oh, you sprinkle, you can't go to heaven. I got baptized in a big plastic swimming pool, so now I'm going to heaven. That kind of ignorant shit. And we're talking about grown motherfuckers. We ain't talking about babies. So therefore we know we can't say this. If it's left up to black people, we have to use some logic behind it. There's always a bigger picture. And that's what we got to look at right now, is the doggone bigger picture. You see what I'm saying? So they always use these particular entities. There ain't nothing to manipulate. So they use them a lot of times to work for them. It's just like some of the hierarchies that's been controlling over us use the white folks. This is one of the main keys right here. The white folks is a decoy to make sure you don't find out about the real enemies, which is a bunch of people manipulating them. Now even David Icke and them, despite his reptilian stuff, they were still talking about it. They then started talking about this shit with the book called The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. And they were saying, no, the damn Illuminati and them motherfuckers was being run by aliens, but they weren't talking. But the aliens that they was talking about was not necessarily some space green people with big eyes. The aliens was entities. That's what Pat Robertson said when he said, oh, there's aliens, but they are angelic. So there's a whole angelic host that we pay homage to that's been ruling this damn shit, and they put the white boy down as the decoy, and you focusing on him. He's a minor player. He's a pawn in the goddamn game. Just like we are pawns to white folks. And other white folks are pawns to white folks. Well, they are pawns to other entities that we'll go deeper into the next 2 days and stuff, because they need to be unmasked. They need to be unmasked. And the reason why we know this and stuff is because at the University of Chicago, they got several papyruses that they got from not only in Hemmitt, but they got all the stuff coming from East India. And since then, they have put back stuff that the regular books like the Rig Veda and the Upanishads and all those particular books, which is mainly religious books. The Rig Veda is a much more older book, but it's in fragments compared to the damn text that they got in University of Chicago. So for the last 35 years, they have had scholars to come back in and put this shit together, and the stuff tell a whole other story. And based on the University of Chicago, they're seeing that the whole hierarchy that we've been praying to for the last damn 2,000 years has been against us. And they got the white boy down there, and they put the white boy up as the chief one that they was going to deal to rule the world, because he could keep this bullshit going on down here, and we'll look at him and not look at the gods. We'll worship them and burn candles to them. But we'll never unmask them as being the architects of all the fucked up shit that's going on down here. So what I'm trying to tell you is that our whole plight, our whole degeneration, our whole deterioration was based on a group of gods that made this shit this way, because of the simple fact they don't want us to rise. And that's what your whole Mahabharata is about. The Mahabharata is a war that's put on where men fight against each other, but it was all orchestrated by the gods. All orchestrated by the gods. But it was a futuristic event which started in the age of Kali Yuga, which is the age that we've been in, which they say, when the Kali Yuga was the age of 6,000 years, or something like that and all, but still yet, when the Mahabharata war starts, that's when we are going right into time about slavery, or let's just say the 2,000 year mark with the establishment of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And as a result now, this stuff is being toppled. You see, it's being toppled. So this is one of the keys here based on this Mahabharata war. There's a whole thing, they did one in 1998, they did a whole film adaptation of the Mahabharata. On the Mahabharata. You can get that film. It's called the Mahabharata. They did that one, then there's a smaller book on the Mahabharata, then there's 3 volumes put out by the University of Chicago on the Mahabharata. And in so many words, this is a war that is started against men fighting against each other to kill off certain ancient spirits that will take over, all put together and orchestrated by the gods. All orchestrated by the gods. Now, let me pour the libations and all so we can get into this particular thing, because at this particular time it's got to become a form of unmasking. Because now things, if anybody in the last 3 weeks have been having a whole bunch of series things that go wrong. I'm talking about like, you losing shit. You know, something that's gonna, you know, it might not even be people that's fucking with you. All of that is always the case. But this time it just be some fucked up luck. You see what I'm saying? That is because they are looking at the ones, they can see the ones that's gravitated towards the ones that have the light in them. Because in order for you to have the light in them, you got to have the darkness. So they can see the ones that have the light in them, the ones that's aware. They know the ones that's aware. And there's a series of things, and it don't even have to be major shit. It can just shit to just get you off track. Where you got to go a week out off course or 2 weeks off course just to get back. That's the kind of thing. So what we're talking about here is that these particular entities are beefing up their offensive for their last stand. For the last stand. And we're going to get into some of that particular information and all. Let me pour the libations and all. Like I said before, and which I wanted to reiterate, because I talked about the 3 sisters the last time. Well, it was 2 sisters, but then again, I said Tiesha and Sheola, these entities that came, and they gave me the aspect for the elixir, the formula for the elixir. Tiesha, Sheola. There was a 3rd one which was called Otincha, and she was the one, she said, don't forget me because I'm the fire, which means that I'm the fire behind the particular alcohol. And I tell a particular story about how I had this attack on me. I had this particular attack on my teeth, and they called this sister from San Antonio because I had her to be the psychic, because I had turned her on 2 weeks before. 2 weeks before I turned her on as far as Aspen Zarbanda to go through her and open her up for channels. And about 2 weeks later, after a strike force They came in as like a strike force and hit me for opening up the particular channel. We'll identify the entities and all of that. But as a result, these three entities, Otincha, Sheola, Tiacha, channel for me to mix dark whiskey and white and light liquor together. And then I perfected it over the course of 3 or 4 months. Now, it's interesting because I did a lecture here on the, what was that, the 20th, when was that last lecture? The 17th or something? 17th or 18th or something. 17th and 18th or something like that of February. And then I went to Charlotte, and some people got in the car, a sister in her 70s and this brother, they're like in their both in their 70s. They got in the car and they drove all the way from Virginia to come to Charlotte to see me. And one of the sisters said that she was blind in one eye and she was deaf in one ear. And she started drinking the damn elixir, and now she could see out of the eye. But we had this big argument, because we got everybody into the goddamn hell shit, and they don't even understand this shit ain't got shit to do with hell. Because what we're talking about here, see, we're thinking on a mundane level. So the first thing is, oh, don't alcohol burn brain cells and all that shit. I'm like, wait a minute. We're talking science here. The alcohol is only a doorway to an entity that is an entity for healing. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about something that overrides the physical. That's what they call it, metaphysical, above the physical. But see, so a lot of the people, they still thinking, you know, because a lot of the things here is, it's one thing to be into the diet, but now we got a whole crew of people that the diet has become the religion now. So somehow they think that righteousness, and they think for some reason that the diet has something to do with their evolution. That's bullshit. You understand? The diet, yes, the diet is great if you down here. Now, don't get me wrong. If you down here, you're in a physical body. We understand that the diet can help you in the physical body so that you don't suffer when you down here. But you got a whole crew on the goddamn radio now. Motherfucker on RFG thinking that for some reason they're going to get to the high goddamn realms because they're eating some motherfucking oat brands. That's bullshit. So you done so now you got a bunch of niggas now that's taking something that is supposed to be something medicinal, something that is supposed to be something that is supposed to help you as far as your physical body, which is just common sense, and now they done made it into a goddamn religion like we done made everything else. So we got a whole group of people, they sit around and their conversation is about what other motherfuckers is eating. Oh man, I saw that motherfucker eating some goddamn ice cream the other day. Oh, child, so-and-so, so-and-so. So this has become a religion. And we've gotten off track. You see what I'm saying? That's the same thing even with the thing here. Well, I haven't even got to draw this parallel. Whereas now, for some conscious people, whether you're conscious or not is based on whatever you say about white folks in the aspect like this. And what I mean by that is, if you constantly talking shit about white folks, that is the criteria for you being conscious.